All righty, so what we're here to do today is to show you how ChaseNet, the portal works, okay? So what we've got here is a very unique web portal for evictions. There is nothing like this in the country. There are a couple of purported nationwide eviction portals, but none of them work very well. They're not designed specifically for, the eviction process as it flows through the court. I designed this initially for myself to make my job easier as I was getting more busy. And then quickly during the build of it, realized this is going to be very instrumental for my clients. So we tried to add in as much for the clients as possible. Now we're undergoing kind of a massive revamp of the ChaseNet portal. There's going to be a whole new version coming out here, hopefully in just some weeks. I'm supposed to meet with them tonight to go over some of the changes and make sure that things are working correctly. But I can't roll it out until it is 100% bug free because I don't have time to mess around with issues. So that's why it's taken so long. In any case, when you first log on, it will bring you into the new eviction request section. Now, generally, I get cases you send me filed within 1 to 2 business days. Okay, so everything in here, this is here. If you click on new eviction request, that's not where you put in a new eviction. This is where new evictions will sit until I've processed them. Okay, so when you log on, you're going to have not quite as many buttons, and I'll actually log on as one of you here to kind of show you how it works. But right now you see these are the cases that are awaiting my processing. Now you'll note there's a little red 3 here. That means there's 3 messages on there. I always look at the messages before I file the case. Now I'm not going to click on that right now because it will then no longer have the red 3. I don't want to forget it later when I work on these. But we've got a couple from the 2nd and the 3rd, and even today. These will all be processed later this morning and filed with the court. So within 2 business days. Now there's a few down here that are from July and even June. Those all have hold for some reason. So they're just waiting for whatever reason. Now, how do we go about inputting the case on the system? What I'm going to do is I'm going to log out as me, and I'm going to log in as, let's see if I've got, here, who am I going to log in as? I'm just going to grab a random one that's up top here. So here, let's go into Timberland. Boom. Okay. So this is a company called Timberland. Now, Timberland has multiple apartment communities, depending on what kind of portfolio you have. Sue, I set you up as under, you'll note when we go to put in a new case, there's company and subsidiary on the system. That doesn't mean that's an illegal subsidiary relationship. It's just terminology. I had to give it a name. Company. So a lot of companies like this company, Timberland, has multiple subsidiaries. In this case, each apartment community is a subsidiary. Other companies I have, like First Key Homes, they're a single family residence, large nationwide company. They have different portfolios. So they're a bunch of letters and Roman numeral gobbledygook, or it's a name with, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And those are different portfolios. Some companies just put it all under one subsidiary, right? So if I click on add evictions, this is where we start the process to put on to add evictions. Okay. And let me move this off the screen. So you'll note it's pre-chosen. Timberland Partners, Synergy at the Meadows. Okay. That means that this particular user, who I saved some of the users' names so I can go in and
Hi, how you doing? I'm good. And you? I'm Loretta. How are you this morning?
So
mute your line, Loretta.
Yeah, I got it. I muted her. Sorry, Loretta, muted you. So so Timberland has multiple properties, but this particular, see all these other properties, this particular user could only enter stuff for Synergy, okay, which is that property. It should be pre-selected. Now, Sue, you'll see when you put it in, the company will say individual Chase Law clients. So people with, just a small portfolio, I just put it under individual Chase Law clients, and then it'll say Soo-Yun Kim. If you end up getting an LLC, which, by the way, side note, get yourself an LLC. Don't own properties in your personal name. There's no good reason to do that. As a matter of fact, I'll send you the name of, I already sent you. So the Mark Jacob, that's the guy to talk to. So I guess we already spoke about that. So in any case, we could set you up a second subsidiary. We don't want to delete Soo-Young Kim because you're going to have had cases in there under your personal name. But then once you get the LLC set up, we'll put it under the LLC. Okay. Now, for everybody, you go in here and you're going to have ready in front of you, you're going to have certain documentation. You want to have a lease ready, scanned. Now, one thing I'll tell you, and this is not a system limitation on ChaseNet. This is a system limitation on Missouri's CaseNet system, the court system. No single document can be larger than 7 megabytes. So when you scan your lease, first of all, I don't need addendums. Page 1 through the signature page. So if you have lead paint addendum, pet addendum, whatever addendum, don't need it. Once in a very, very long while at a trial, we need one of those addendums. We'll get it from you if we need it. Okay, occasionally an opposing attorney asks for the full lease. I'll contact you and say, hey, email that full lease. Done, okay? But in general, we don't need it. But we also got to keep it smaller than 7 megabytes. If we look at their lease, this is 366K. A lot of them end up 3 meg, 4 meg. Sometimes I get one that's 11 meg. And I'm like, what do I got? I got to then usually print it and rescan it myself, which is time consuming, pain in the rear. Please don't make me do that. Okay. So in any case, the lease should be, as I said, you can see here, it's through the signature page. Now for sure, now they have 2 more pages here. I know that that's their lead paint addendum is pages 10 and 11. And they probably have other addendums, but this is all that I need to send in. You'll note it is a signed copy. Occasionally I get unsigned copies. That doesn't really help. Okay. We do need a signed copy, but if you send me an unsigned, that's what I'm going to send to the court. If it causes a problem down the road, it causes a problem. Now, the lack of a lease does not mean the case will fail, but really we need leases. Okay. We want to be correct on all these filings. So you have your lease scanned and ready. You'll have your information on the tenant, their name. If you got their social, their date of birth, have it handy. If you don't have their social and date of birth, don't wait to file because of that. But it's better if you have it, you can dig it up, put it on the system. So you're going to go over here. You're going to put in your tenant. Now my name pops up first, so we'll put that in. Again, if you know the social, put it in, date of birth, okay, gender or sex. If we dare ask, I don't know if fair housing allows us to ask the sex of the tenant anymore, because there's apparently 47 or 612 sexes, not male and female, because we live in a crazy world where people entertain nonsense like this. Daddy, mommy, I believe that I'm a toaster. Great, son, we're going to go install a wire up your rear and you can live your life as a toaster, a happy toaster, and sing songs from Disney, celebrating your identity. Anyway, silliness. If you have more than one defendant. Now, who should be a defendant? In general, if they are 2 people on a lease or 3 people signing the lease, not the kids, of course, but the signatories to the lease. Anybody that's a signatory to the lease, put them on there. Now, if there's only, Jane Smith on the lease, but that her baby daddy lives there, or her other baby daddy, or her boyfriend or girlfriend, put him in. If you don't know their name, John Doe or Jane Doe. So you just click add more tenant, put in John Doe, done, okay? Now, once you've done that, the system is defaulted currently for St. Louis County. So if it's a city case, click on city, save and next, okay? Now, you should have your ledger handy. Let's take a look at this ledger. They started on July 1 with a 0 balance. So we've got rent. The monthly rent looks like it's, wow, that's strange. I don't know what's going on here. It's 10, I guess it's 10.15 or something, whatever it is. They have it broken into two spots. I don't know what they're doing here. That's a strange one. Let's just say rent's 1,000, okay? As of the date of filing, how much just rent is due? I want to find a different ledger so I can kind of explain what I'm gonna be talking about. Okay, here's a ledger which is kind of more normal. This is perfect. So on May 7th, okay, you see that they made a payment with a balance remaining. Now, whatever balance this is, here it's $224 and change. If it's $2,024 and change, whatever the balance left after the last payment, we're going to call all of this rent. Okay. So here we've got, for this guy, $1,125 in rent. Now this day the month rent is due, leave it blank. It's always the first. Everybody should be due on the first. Now, total amount of rent due. What we're going to do is now you got to grab your desk calculator. You got to do this for me, and you're going to do it twice. Once when we start the lawsuit and once when you update the ledgers before court. You've got to break it down for me because you know your ledger. So we've got $224 and change, right? Plus we got $1,125 plus, it looks like their rent went up in July, $1,140. Oops. 225 plus 1125 plus 1140. So 2490 of rent. Okay. Now it says total as of what date? That should be today. Now, if you look at this, this is through July. You know, say today was July 27th. Okay. We just leave it blank. This total as of what day we leave blank. But say today is July 30th or 31st. What I'll ask you to do, if it's the very last day or two of the month, I want you to increase this by another 1125. Okay, so you're going to put 3615 here, and then you're going to tell me you're doing that by saying I'm putting this on for the 1st of August, even though today's July 27th. That's the only time you put a date in here. Okay. Now, today's August 3rd. Your ledger doesn't have August. You're still going to have to add it in, right? So then late charges, whatever those late charges add up to, call it $140. Utility charges. Okay, there's a sewer fee of $65 twice. Well, one is 60, one is 65. So 125 for utilities. Okay, additional charges, there are none. Now, what would be a proper additional charge? This insufficient funds fee. But because that came before the payment the following day, it's already been covered. Because this $885 first paid the non-sufficient funds fee, then it paid any late charges, and then it paid any utilities, leaving only rent, wherever the last payment was. Okay, so there's no additional charges here. Court costs here, now, even though I charge them what I charge you guys, they put down $360 on every case. That's fine. If you have it in your lease, that, you know, that's the case. If you put in a larger number than I'm charging you, that's fine. Don't put in a crazy number. You know, don't make it more than like $500. Okay. Now this what's it called? Zoom will be seen by others because it's being recorded. And those of you who are one-time clients, I do in fact charge more. Oh, look at that. Ms. Johnson managed to get on. I charge more, so it's like $600 in the county for one case if you're not one of my, you know, bulk clients, priced as a bulk client. So in any case, once you put in those numbers, hit save and next. Go to page 3. Now, page 3 is the employment info of the defendant. Really don't need it. Really don't need it. Okay, ignore that. Hi, Miss Johnson. I'm muting you, but you're there. I hope you can see it because it says you're on your iPhone. I hope you can see it. The screen might be way too small. In any case, it is being recorded. So employment info, leave blank. We really don't need it. Now, once in a while, you might have a case where you say, listen, we really want personal service because we want a money judgment no matter what, because we know they got a good job. You know, deadbeat tenant, but they're a nurse at Barnes, and we know we could garnish wages. Because most of the time, our process servers, they will try to personally serve, but half or more than half get posted. Why? Because ever since the lockdown last year, nobody answers the damn door. Everybody was home for a freaking year, sitting fat and happy, getting the government check, and they never answered the door. We went from about 35% posted, 65% served to the reverse. Okay, nobody answers the door anymore. What can you do? But if you have somebody who you definitely want personal service, but you think they should be served at work, give us the employment info. In general, leave this page blank. Now, if you have a case which is an unlawful detainer, that is not your regular rent eviction case. You'll talk to me about those before you file it, but I'll tell you, hey, on page 3, that page you normally skip with the employment info, down near the bottom, there's a box for unlawful detainer. You check it, you give me all your reasons here. Okay, for now, we're going to leave it unchecked. Leave this page blank, save and next. The last page is very straightforward. You drag your lease. Now note this, you see this language here, due to Missouri court limitations, please keep the lease file size below 7 megabytes, okay? Now, once I drop it here, watch, it shows you 0.4 megabytes, we're perfect, okay, no problem. Once that's fully uploaded, we drag and drop our ledger here, done. Now, generally, I don't need other documents. If it's a regular rent and possession, I don't need the application, I don't want it. I don't need their ID, I don't need letters, communications, all your email thread. I don't want any of that. What I do want is everything must be PDF only, okay? Must be PDF and the lease below 7 megabytes. Once you've done this, we're gonna go ahead and click submit request and then yes, send it. Right now, we're not gonna do that because the folks at Timberland are gonna be like, why are we evicting you? Because I put my own name as an address in as the tenant. And that's not at their community. Anyway, you click yes, send it. This 0, okay, we're gonna say cancel. This 0 up here under new eviction requests will ding and roll to 1. Now you'll notice here it says requested writ sats 9. Everybody says that. That's an error in the system. It always shows the number that are on my end, which it should not. So ignore the number of requested writ satisfactions here. This company, this subsidiary rather, that this user has access to only has one case. They're brand new. They just filed their first case with me last week, and we can take a look at the case they filed. So if you hover over this eviction by docket, you're going to only see dates highlighted where you have a case. So let's take a look at their case. Okay, so they look at this, and they say, oh, Miss Sample came in with payment. It hasn't even gone to court yet. Okay, this is on for August 30th. They just filed it yesterday. But at any time, if they come in and pay in full, only if they pay in full, click that request dis-sat, dismissal or satisfaction is what it means. Okay. Now on the new version, I'm gonna show you somewhere the ways it's going to be different on the new version. On the new version, if we look at the court date, thinking, wait, what happened? Eviction by docket date. Oh, here we go. So you see this one says file dismissal satisfaction, and it's going to be hopefully larger. Let me make this bigger. It's got this like red paid thing, okay? Because people will dismiss a case which is not paid in full. If they skip out and you just want to close out the case, click that, but then also give me a message. Tell me, skipped, but still owes money, okay? And then I'll decide and I'll talk to you about whether or not we're going to dismiss it. Or if, during these times, if they apply for SAFER, you don't absolutely have to dismiss the case. You just have to continue it out. But some people want to dismiss. But if you dismiss and they're only in application, you have to let me know that they're not paid in full, because I could do a dismissal, what's called without prejudice. What that means is you could bring the case again. But our default is dismissal with prejudice, which means paid in full. That's why we changed that button for the file dismissal or satisfaction to a paid. If they're paid in full, we either dismiss it if it's not in court, if it's not got a judgment yet, or we file a satisfaction if it has gone to court, okay? Likewise, the buttons on the current system say request writ. the new system, it's going to have this nice sheriff's badge. They do have to make these pictures much bigger though. Anyway, going back to our current system. All right. So, we were in this. So I'm going to log out as Lindsay. I'm going to log back in as me. Okay. Now, you'll notice, we got 18 now, new eviction requests. When you send me a new case, we're generally, like I said, within 1 to 2 business days. When you send me a writ request, we jump on them immediately. Not today, because they just did a new eviction moratorium. I'm not going to discuss that here now. That will be Friday morning. I do recommend that you guys all, I'm hoping that all my clients will come on Friday Zoom. There's a lot of new news. But suffice it to say, we don't know what's happening with these writs now. We keep filing them and then they get canceled and then we have to refile them. And it's costing you guys more money. It's costing everybody more work. And it's also completely lawless what's going on. But that's for a different meeting. Okay, so getting back to this, once you've filed it, what's going to happen? You are going to get an email. I'm going to show you what that email looks like. Give me a moment here. Where is that? Sorry. Where's that document? ARG Live TV. Where is this? Hold on. There we go, full packet. Okay. So, so you will get this email saying a new county case was filed. So you'll see this is dated March 20th, 2019. So on March, the same day at 9:43 a.m., and this is 1:24 p.m. So the case was submitted to us that morning. And then that afternoon, we processed it against Sean Jackson for such and such a property address for a first call docket date of April 11th, 2019. And it's got this disclaimer. This date will only be certain once accepted by this clerk and summons generated for that date. Now, in the past, I was almost never wrong on the date. Currently, the delays are enormous in St. Louis County in particular. St. Louis City, we're usually spot on. St. Louis County is a crap show of monumental proportions. Stuff that I'm filing today, I'm estimating September 30th as the first court docket, which is crazy, okay? Bear with it. There's nothing we can do about these delays. The delays are fourfold. And again, that's not the subject of today, but very briefly, we have massive influx of cases because of the end of the moratorium, which now is not really ended. Number 2, they decreased the number of judges that handle evictions and collections are all the same bulk dockets. So those judges used to number 6, now they number 5. So each of the 5 judges picked up 1/5 of another judge's workload. The workload's gone up, number of judges down. They've had a running shortage of court clerks in the county. It's been the worst for 2 years now. And lastly, we're still on WebEx, which slows everything down, okay? We shouldn't be on WebEx, but again, subject for another day, but the courts still believe there's a pandemic, just like dementia still believes there's a pandemic. There is not. Anyway, going on, if you'll note here, the email tells you what the date is. It's not certain. And then it attaches this handy dandy cover sheet. So if you look in each one of these files, this initial information file, this is sent to you. This is just like the cover sheet you would have sent to your prior attorney. They want a cover sheet, a lease, and a ledger. Well, you just input the data, the cover sheet comes back to you nice and clean. So when you get that email back and you say, wait, shit, it's not 3413 St. Williams, it's 3418. I must have typoed it. You call me immediately, text me. Don't email me. I would say put a message on the system and text me right away. Error in case, because we can catch it right away. If we don't catch it before the process servers go out, but before court, we can often rehabilitate it. I just had a case yesterday. I was in court. The address was like 4306, but they put 4036. Process server tried to serve it. Whoever lived at that address came into court and said, that's not me. He doesn't live here. It was posted on my door. He's like, he showed the court the ID. We figured out the error. The error was on the client's, in the client's ledger. They had the wrong address. So it was wrong throughout, garbage in, garbage out. So make sure, double check your numbers. This is a check for you and me so that we don't have errors. Errors will happen. I'm not free of errors. You are not free of errors. In this business, I mean, thank God, I don't want to be the lawyer who's defending people on death row, because an error there means somebody might die. Or on the flip side, somebody who deserves to die may go free, right? Those are serious errors. Thank God in the business that I do, I can sleep calmly at night because errors don't result in vast damage. Worst case scenario, we have a couple of week delay. And that's what happened in that case. We're back on for August 30th. I explained to the client's like, it happens. Shit happens. It was my fault, he said. No problem. And he's getting charged twice for the service of process because we went out once. We got to go out again. No big deal. No harm, no foul. The court's producing what's called an alias summons. We corrected. But if we had caught it, right after filing, we'd be better off. But it happens. You could see all the information is on here as they submitted it on the date they submitted it right here. Okay. So that's the information that comes back to you. Now, you're not going to hear from us again until we ask you to update ledgers. Okay. Now, this is where also the new system is slightly different. And I'm going to ask you to, again, get out your desk calculator and calculate out the itemized list of damages. Why? Because the courts since July 1 of last year, of 2020, require us to put on the judgments rent, late, other, utilities, legal, total. I can't do all those calculations. Please don't make me. So I'm going to show you how we're doing it currently on the update ledgers, and I'm going to show you how we will be doing it on the new system. So if we look at update ledgers, all these buttons are not buttons. You hover over it, okay? The others are buttons. So if you hover over update ledgers, it's going to show you dates where you have cases. Now, this is now me logged on, so we got all our dates. So if I look, let's look at yesterday, okay? This is what the update ledger page looks like for each case. Now, wow, this one has a whole bunch of ledger uploads. Now, this case this is an old case that kind of kept rolling through court. It's been delayed. I think they're already vacated long since. This is just one of those 2020 things that's going on forever. We don't like that. We want these cases to end with one visit to court, okay? But 2020 has created a nightmare of endlessness. I don't know if that makes any sense. But here's where you're at. Now, if we scroll down, we have a couple that still are blank. This one never put in a ledger. Turns out they didn't show up yesterday. It was a default possession only. So at the end of the day, we didn't need it, but I want everybody to put in the ledgers, please. Now, you'll note there's not a lot of notes here. I'm asking everybody to please break down the numbers. Some of my clients are doing it, some are not. Okay. If you look here, you would have to add up 702 times 2. And we were actually in court on August 3rd. This was uploaded before August 3rd. So I do ask everyone, if we start requesting ledgers when we send it out with the process server. We request it again a week before court. We request it again a day before court. The best time to do it is a few days before court. So just note yourself, if you have cases on September 30th, well, by the way, those dates may change, but just look at it occasionally. We really don't need the ledger update until a few days before, but please don't leave it till the morning of court, because we have to prepare these dockets beforehand. Okay. It's very frustrating. I'm telling you guys who've never failed to do this because you're new clients, but even my old clients, I'm not going to say who's who, but a lot of them get it last minute. It's much easier if they don't. In any case, here's the updated ledger. What I will ask you to do, and some have done it, some have not, is write in the notes here, breakdown, rent 600, late fee 20, legal 300, whatever it is. Okay. Now, if they come in and make a payment, so you see 3 here. Now, Tyler Walker was in court more than once. Now let's see what this message is. I mean, I know what happened with Tyler Walker. So when we go to court, we look at sometimes cases are continuance cases from prior, which again, this is a function of the craziness of 2020. When we get back to more normal operation, we're going to have virtually no continuance cases. Why is that? Because the cases are usually finished on the day of court. So this one, I can tell them, so he has applied with Guardian Angel. I have their number is, okay, no, contact, can't type, tenant and coordinate with them. Continued to 8/17. Okay. Oh, Christy, yes, you raised your hand. You're muted. Let me unmute you. Unmute.
I put a question in chat, asking with you saying us having to update the ledgers, closer to the court date.
Yeah.
Is that something we have to do, just remember to do, or do we get like an email notification
you'll get
saying,
an
hey,
email.
upload new ledger?
Right, you'll get an email notification. So you'll get an email saying, please update your ledgers for this court date. It's going to come like 3 times. We used to just send it a week before court, but then people weren't doing it. So we started sending it when we send it to the process server. So that's like 3 weeks before court.
Okay.
But don't do it right away. Honestly, we need it. The best time to do it is like 3 to 5 days before court. And just make sure it includes up through the day of court, which sometimes is a challenge. As you see, most of these ledgers were printed in July because court was August 3rd, a Tuesday. So if they didn't want to do it Monday, they did it with but in that case, when you print out your ledger, I would ask you to handwrite in on that ledger an August rent. And because the late fee charges on the 2nd, August 3rd is court, you're going to have a $50 late fee, whatever it might be. Okay. And then break it down. Originally, this special instructions field, the special instructions at court is for this: no payment arrangements ballots must be paid in full by 10/16/2020. So that was the first time we went to court with this Kenesha Marshall. She's long gone. She's out of the place. We're just trying to get some money out of them, and legal services represents her. So we're going to eventually just have a trial on it, but she's long gone. But that's what that's for. In addition, the unit still has no electricity, no deals, tenant must go. Whatever happened, this is red. That means it was dismissed before we got a judgment. Okay. They might have come in and paid in full, and the landlord apparently didn't care about the electricity, or they left and paid in full and we dismissed it, or they left, didn't pay. The client said dismiss without prejudice. I'm not really sure at this point, who knows, but it was dismissed. Okay. Most of these were dealt with yesterday with either a default or a consent. We had very few continuances yesterday. These will all be uploaded today, okay? I go into court and I have my printed docket. We write our notes on here. We do all our judgments. In the city, we're in court. We get the judgment same day. Now, be very cautious in your expectations in the county. We are on WebEx. I e-file, I'm always on Thursdays in the county. I should have a second day, but that's another thing that they cut back on when they dropped from 6 to 5 judges. They canceled my second day. But what was I saying? We e-file our judgments the day of court. So court was July 1st. I e-filed them the evening of July 1st. The judge signed them from that day, I'm pretty sure, on July 7th. And even though if you look on ChaseNet now, it looks like those July 7th were all uploaded on the court system on July 7th. In fact, it was closer to July 15th that they were uploaded. So we couldn't get those out to our clients until then. Now, when we go to court, you know, you've done your ledger update, you've put in your special instructions. If we need some direction, we'll call you. If you have a bunch of cases on and you want to come to court or be on the WebEx while it's still on WebEx, you're welcome to. If we do breakout rooms with your people, it's easy if we have one of you there, okay? We could all talk it out. You don't have to be there. The only time I need a client at court is if we have a trial where evidence will be adduced. If evidence is going to be adduced, we need a witness. We need one of you there, okay? And all trials are now in person, even in the county. The city, we're not officially in person, but they're allowing us to be there, and we walk out with our documents that day. I much prefer it. I'm done with court at like 1 o'clock yesterday, but 2 months ago, I would have been sending them via email to the judge to sign, and then I'd have to have them downloaded from the court system the following day. In St. Louis County, I can't email them to the judge in a stack to sign. I have to e-file each one. It's very time consuming for me and for the clerks. It would make much more sense for me to be there in the court and hand the judge a document, but they don't want to do that. Why don't they want to do that? There's no good reason. No good reason. They're all insane, but that's what we're dealing with. In any case, when the case is over, okay, so you upload your ledgers, we're ready for court. When the case is over, you're going to get emails, and the emails will look like this. Dear, and it won't say Matthew Chase, it'll say Dear Christy Cotton, whoever's name was the one that initially initiated the case. This case resulted in a consent judgment with this dollar amount on this day. It's eligible to file a writ if breached after March 22. Now be advised, because the judge on those July 1st cases did not sign it till July 7th. Even though technically under the Missouri law, it should be eligible to request a writ 10 days after the judgment is ordered. The court said default on the day of court. Well, the court didn't sign it till July 7th. So the 10 days starts from the day she signs it. So our system is defaulted to saying 10 days after the date of court. So there'll be a special additional note saying writ eligible on July 17th, not July 11th. Okay? So then there'll be a copy of the consent judgment there on the email in a PDF format. Here's one which is default. This case resulted in a default judgment with 4635. Boom. There's a copy of your judgment. Okay. This one says it resulted in a trial setting. Client appearance required, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So those are the kind of results you'll get afterwards. Okay. So then also after court, if you go back and you want to look, you had cases on July 1st. You can go back here and take a look. All the yellow ones have judgments. Orange means it's a judgment that has been satisfied. If you go in here and you look and you say, wait a second, Carolyn paid in full, all you're going to do is click your request dismissal or satisfaction button. Okay. But if Carolyn has not paid and it's now 10 days is gone from the date of the judgment, we click on request writ. Okay. Yours says request. Mine says file writ. Yours says request writ. Once you request writ, we'll file it and The sheriff would generally go out about a week after I give it to the sheriff. The whole turnaround time is very fast. We are extremely fast on that. Okay. Now, right now, all writs are on hold again in the city because of the new moratorium. And I'm not really sure. I'll know more on Friday. And in the county, anybody who has given in a CDC declaration is able to stop it for another 60 days. So yes, that means they just get free rent for 60 more days. Now, can they continue this again after October 3rd? Of course they can. We are in territory of total lawlessness. So even though I say that, if you send in your cases now in the county, we will be done with the moratorium, the current moratorium, before you are eligible to file a writ. Because the earliest date I'm going to get in the county is September 30th. And 10 days after that, even if we were to get it signed that day, is after October 3rd. Now, what's going to happen on October 3rd? Who the hell knows? Will we have the Supreme Court finally smacking down the CDC declaration? Maybe. I don't know. But that's the story. Questions, anybody? That is the whole process in general. Oh, messaging. By the way, messaging. If once you put in a new case, if you have any message to send me, now messages like no deals for this guy, don't give me that message at the start of the case. That's the wrong time. We won't get it. The only messages that should happen at the start of the case are things about process service. If it's an emergency case, you know, hey, this one's an emergency. This is what's going on. And then we'll talk about it. By and large, that's it. Mostly stuff about service. You know, it says apartment 2, which is the legal apartment, but tell your process server he's got to go in through the back door. Okay. Or he needs a key for this building. Have him call me. Okay. That's what goes on messaging. So once you've put in your new case, you go onto this new eviction request page. The case is still there until I process it. You click on this message button and you give me your message. Okay. Now, if you submit the case and you couldn't find the lease for some reason, right? But before I process it, you found it. Go back on here and click uploads, and you could drag and drop your lease in here. Now, you can't put more than one document in the lease. You couldn't do it here because it's there. Okay. I don't think this one has. See, this one doesn't have a lease because Logan told me he didn't have any leases. So you just drag and drop it here if he had it. Okay. That's basically it. Questions, folks?
So as it pertains to leases, in some of these, like, you know, we're taking over a property and a lot of the leases on file that previous property management companies provided, the leases are expired or they're not on a lease. So is that okay just to upload that lease and add the note that this is an inherited property and
Yeah,
this is
and
the
you don't even
last
need a
lease
note.
we have?
You don't.
Okay.
You don't even need a note, Christy. Here's what the deal is. The lease I want is the most current lease you got. That
Okay.
means if the most current lease is 4 years old with different landlord name on there, that's fine.
Okay.
Because it transfers with the ownership or management or both,
Okay.
right? Now, by the way, I'm holding my cursor here because you heard that ding while you were talking. Somebody submitted a new case. Boom. It texts me. Okay. I get texts on the two most important things, which are new cases and writs. So new case from Dustin Hogue at Hogue Enterprises, new case from Natasha at Waterford West. These are all what came in. Writ request. I got to tell Sandy that we're stopping writs again because between City Side and City View, which are both Mills properties, I think those each have like 700 units. And we have been refiling writs on them over and over and over again. It's insanity. It's total insanity. So in any case, it is what it is. But yeah, you go ahead and just give us the most current lease you've got, even if it's expired.
Yeah, how about if you don't have a lease?
If you don't have a lease, I would ask that you just put a quick message on here, no lease available. But if, I'd like you to say there never was a lease. And I think Sue, when we spoke yesterday, you said there was
Right.
never a lease.
Never ever.
Tell me never a lease. And then, by the way, don't forget, St. Louis County, you're putting under legal 115, right? 115. And Sue, you're one of the ones who's I'm charging you as a one-time client, correct?
Right.
One time, which now, if you come back to me with multiple cases,
Uh-huh.
I'll drop that price way down, okay? Eventually, it'll be the same as the bulk clients. But, you know, Christy is managing a company that's got, you know, how many doors do you got, Christy?
200.
200 doors. They're gonna have in normal times, that would mean 6 to 8 evictions a month, probably, something like that, depending, you know, some are more, some are less. But you're gonna put 115 in the legal because we never had a lease. And just put in the message, never was a lease, okay? So I'll just change the language on the petition to say pursuant to an oral agreement rather than pursuant to a written lease, okay? Now, if you think that there was a lease, if your assumption is, now if Christy inherits a property from a prior management company, doesn't get any paperwork, but pretty sure that they had a lease, she's just gonna say, can't find the lease. You know, no lease found, probably had one, right? So particularly managed properties are more likely to have leases, okay? Individual landlords are bad about letting people move in without a lease. Be cautious about that. Other things to be cautious about, make sure you're up on the local rules with respect to occupancy permits and inspections. And I'll give you a hint. In St. Louis City, never, ever, ever move someone in without, it is on the landlord to both get the inspection passed and pay for it, and it is on the landlord to get the occupancy permit paid for. And you got to do all of that before you hand them a key. Otherwise, they could demand all the rent that they've paid back. So don't be that guy, okay? That's basically it. Other questions pertaining to the system or just generally? Nothing. Okay, so that is basically it. That's how the system works. You will be able to track everything. So if I log out again as me, sometimes it takes 2 clicks. I don't know why. All these glitches are being fixed in the new system. Oh, and I didn't show you on the new system, the way it looks for update ledgers is as follows. Nothing in there. Hold on a second. Let me go to, okay. So if we look at this, this is how we handle it here. Okay. Rent, late fees, utility, other, legal. You put it in there and you know, that's 5,000 in rent due, 100 in late fees, 10 in utilities, nothing, legal 300. Okay, and it's going to total it for you. All right, that's the way it's going to be. I hope very soon. Okay, you'll have to put those numbers in there. I rely on you guys to do those numbers. Please don't just say it's all rent when clearly there's a ledger that shows late fees, utilities, and a broken screen door. You know, all that stuff. Okay. So that's that. So we've logged out. I want to show you one last thing. I'm going to log in as, let's see, who do I want to log in as? Let's see. I want to grab one that has, oh, here, this is a good one. So the reason I'm logging in as this person is because this is a company that has multiple subsidiaries, and this is one of the managers who has, he's a regional, so he has access to all their local properties. And we could set it up if you have, you know, an apartment community, you know, where you have one manager who's just over that, they could have access to just that subsidiary. Okay, but if we want to see all our cases, if we're this guy, we put the cursor in here, hit enter. That's the search field. That just takes a second to do the search. These are all the cases under this company. These are all new ones, which these ones were in court in July. We don't have the results up yet. The July 8th, we should. July 22 have probably not even been signed by the judge yet or not up on ChaseNet. And then these are all new cases. Okay, you could see all what's going on here. He's got some messages waiting, but if he wants to see, look at these old cases and say, oh, what's going on here? Wait a second. I know that Betty Moore is still living there and she's causing problems, hasn't paid a dime. Click request writ. Okay. This was on May 13th. So for sure it's eligible, right? These orange ones were all satisfied already. They've filed a satisfaction, which means they paid in full. So at any time you could look at all your cases that way. All right. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, so that's basically it. Do you want to talk about anything else that is not related to the portal? I'm going to stop recording here